Very warm welcome to JP's at the Railway. We're delighted, by the way, to see the place open after all these years. So best of luck to James French and his staff. And it's one of the best bars in the town, as we all know. So very welcome and staff. And good luck to everybody who's travelling on Sunday to two fantastic games. Thanks to all the sponsors. And anybody who wants to have a chat with us, come up. So we're going to introduce some of our guests here tonight. On the far side is my second in command, Gabrielle Gordon. She's our press officer looking after things. And then we have the player who played for Armagh and Clonard both, Dave Murray, who well known around the town for our singing exploits as well, followed there by Tommy Coleman, former Armagh player. Tommy, Ulster final in what year? 1984. Mark Beattie, who's retired far too soon, but he's a great singer and a great dancer. And Mark Beattie, who retired far too soon, but he's still playing for the Armagh over 50s. And Gary Creaney here, who's our statsman and our tactician, who knows just as much as James Burns beside me here. But James, you're very welcome also when you've rushed in from Donegal and you're adopted club. First of all, I think Gabrielle wants to take a microphone and ask Tommy the first question about a very important game that's coming up on Saturday, Armagh ladies against Donegal. Every bit as most important as the senior match. So Gabrielle, fired off there with Tommy.
Okay, so Tommy, Armagh lost to Kerry in the league final. Can they bounce back in Saturday's Ulster final against Donegal?
Oh yeah, certainly they can. It'll be a very, very stiff task now because over the years they've been beaten regularly now in Ulster finals. Donegal will be very, very well equipped for it and they're very ready for it. James Daly, who's taken Donegal this year, managed Armagh and he also managed Clonard for a few years as well. So he's well tuned into all the players, what way to play and how to play. So I expect it to be a very, very defensive setup from Donegal, and it has been in the past, and they'll find it very difficult to break down. Having said that, we're in Clonus, and there's a lot of space there, and I think if Armagh get back to using the ball quickly, moving as quick as they can, they do have some lethal forwards, and I know they were beaten that day and well beaten by Kerry that day. Was probably exposed at the back a lot. We were left on one-on-one situations. It was, I was surprised, to be honest with you. There was no real defensive system there at all. There was no +1. Kerry definitely got their tactics right that day. They pulled Clodagh Cambridge out of the full back line, in around the middle of the field, left 2-on-2 inside, and they exploited that there every time. They looked like they were going to score a goal every time that they went forward. But when Armagh did go forward, they hit the post twice. They kicked quite a number of bad wides. So although they were well beaten and deservedly so, Kerry were the better side on the day. I think the scoreline probably didn't reflect on Armagh's performance overall. So I do think it'll be a good game, but I fully expect Armagh to come out on top after. It'll be a tight one again. It went to extra time last year. Donegal beat them by a couple of points the year before, and I think Armagh won the previous 3 by a point or 2 points, and maybe 4 points the first year. So it was, so it's been nip and tuck this last while back. I don't expect it to be any different on Saturday.
Very good.
So, Niamh, I have a question for you. So, which Clonard ladies player that you've played with so far has impressed you the most?
A difficult question.
That's the hardest question I think anyone will be asked here. That's the beauty of our team. There's just so many players here can bring so much to the team, bring so many different things. That's what makes us such a good team. You could be here all day talking about the past players and girls, who've set the targets for us. But even the young girls coming through, like Anna Labry's, even Donahue, even Caffrey, stuff like that. Like those girls are just walking on the senior panels as if they've been playing, for years, and they're only really coming in. They just fit the mould. It's really hard to say. It is really hard to say who's sort of up there. I couldn't name one. It's just everyone brings such a different. There's just so many. It's just everyone brings something different to the team, and in the best way possible, which makes us, really
a
hard
nice
to
wee
beat.
tight bond between everybody. It's good to see.
Caroline O'Hanlon's been there for a long, long time, but she's a great engine. She's still been there. How much of a leader is she for the team? She's basically,
Well, I can say for us anyway, especially when it comes to Clonard and Krupp and that sort of thing. Caroline just oozes confidence. She's so good. She knows what she's capable of. She knows what she brings to the team, especially when it comes to Armagh. When she's on the ball, she's just so it's as if the game just stops. Everyone comes down to her level and plays to the way she wants to play. Caroline, she's a playmaker. She can set up scores from anywhere. She gets the first time ball in. She can she's still got a good engine on her even with the age she is. It's unbelievable. She just never stops. But with her, I definitely think that sort of her being around for so long will help to maybe settle games at certain stages. When maybe the going gets tough, like Tommy says, where it's sort of neck and neck. She's definitely up there with a couple other girls who are able to sort of keep Armagh's pace to themselves. Sort of keep Donegal at sort of arm's length and sort of maybe keep the game.
Keep her head on the maturity.
Yeah,
just maybe Tommy came in this as well, but as far as Clonaire's concerned, you can't mention Armagh without mentioning Clonaire's. So Tommy, they've got conveyor belt right through, and they would have played last year. Can you see them being the new Donegal and Ulster, where they've won two in a row? Could they dominate?
Well, it's there for them, but it takes an awful lot of work, an awful lot of dedication. Also takes, key players not getting injured as well. It's there for them, but it's not a given. It's not a given, and you have to get out of your own county first. And the target's on their back. And when they go out, every match that they go out, you have to be at your best, because if you're not at your best and you're not focused in on the opposition and you're not treating the opposition with the right respect, you can be caught. And you're out. That's the way it is. So every game that you approach, you have to approach it both physically and mentally right. And, that's something that they have to do. And this is something that we all, when we look at Crossmaglen, or the great Crossmaglen team that came through from the early 2000s, right, or the late 90s, 1990s, right through the 2000s, how they kept doing that every year. And probably, I think with Clonaire's in the position now where they were, you were enabled to bring in one or maybe two players every year just to freshen that up. And then it gives, everybody else is looking around them. Well, such and such is coming here from my jersey, and that gives you that there push just to give on, The thing about it with Clonaire's and Neve Battaglia is that, that jersey's only lent to you. It's not yours.
Yeah.
That's yours. It's only yours until somebody comes and takes it off you, and that's the way that the ladies is at the moment. And they are in a good position. I think they've won probably 3 or 4 of the last minor championships as well. So that strength and depth of them young ones coming through is phenomenal, and they're just sitting waiting, biting at the bit to get in.
Well, Gabriel, you run a gym, so just want to ask this to about recovery and all. I just want to ask this to Neve as well. Neve, as a player, a ladies player, you played for Armagh, you dropped out a wee bit because of your singing career. How hard do they train? I mean, are they train typically as much as men? How hard do they train?
I think that's the thing now is with the women's, if you want to get the recognition and want to be up there equally with the men, there's no excuse. You have to train just as hard as them. You have to put in just as much work and give as much. That's the thing with Armagh. It's such a commitment. You know what I mean? Like, you really are putting everything on hold just to play for your county, and that's the way it should be. Recovery is a big thing. If you want to be up there playing the top, your club is your club, and it's the higher you get in club, the harder the football is. But when you go to county, it is a different ball game. You're playing, the best of the best in each county, and it's faster, it's quicker, it's heavier hitting, it's everything. So if you're not recovering properly or you're not doing what you need to do, to keep yourself right, then you're going to struggle.
Yeah, excellent. Girls, we're going to come back to the ladies very shortly again. Just in the meantime, we want to go to Gary for this before we bring Mark and Tommy and James in. Gary, we're going to the Ulster final on Saturday. What's the permutations of from a win? Who do we play? And what's the permutations of a beat? Who do we play? How does it actually work for people who don't honestly know what's going on?
So we're in either Group 1 or Group 4. If you win, you go into Group 4, which is you go into Group 1, which is, in my opinion, the one you want to get into. That would mean a home game against Tyrone, and away game against Cavan, and then you'd have a neutral game against what we now know is Mayo after the Connacht final.
Yesterday, yeah.
And then obviously the Group 4 then would be, that is the group of death. To me, you're trying to avoid that one. You've Derry waiting in the wings. That would be your first home game. Derry's sitting, 4, 5, 6 weeks out of action, getting their players recovered or all injured. So they'll be very keen when they come to the athletic grounds. Then you're away to Dublin. Who would fancy that challenge? Dublin in Croke Park.
And regroup Dublin.
Regroup Dublin, and then finally would be another match against Galway, who, yes, we do seem to be getting the better of Galway in our exchanges with them over the last few years. Draws and a couple of wins for Armagh, obviously the most recent being the All-Ireland final. But You know, I mean, Galway are a serious outfit, so that group of death there. That is a group of death in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
And yeah, so look, that means winning this Ulster final to me is even more critical. I would say getting into Group 1 with those other teams, the better chance of reaching your quarter final at least.
100%. I'll come back to you shortly, Gary. Mark, just want to bring Mark in for a second. Mark, I done my stats during the week, and the first thing I looked at was, we're going to go back to the future, as it were, to put this out to you. I looked at the All-Ireland final last year. Stephen Campbell came on, and within 35 seconds, he had created a goal for Aaron McKay inside. He came on last week with like 6 minutes to go, and within a few minutes, he had scored a point which could have won them the match, at least through the game. So, just to ask you the question, start or keep him on the bench?
At the moment, definitely keep him on the bench. You know, Stephen's on an age now as well where he's flying when he comes on. Every game he comes on, you know, he gives Armagh so much, and the odd teams fear him, especially whenever he, you know, he's sitting on the bench. The odd team, they're worried. When's he going to come on? When's he going to spring him on? Who's going to have to mark him? And really, when he comes on and he's the fresh legs at that stage, there's not too many people who can mark him. And you've seen that there again last weekend, and produced a brilliant score. His work rate was brilliant, and you know, my opinion is you keep him on the bench and scare a life out of the Donegal this weekend, you know.
And a lot of the defenders, nobody's going to do, Mark, but they can't do much about it. He's got that pace and that bulk about him.
It's that explosiveness that he just has, and you see it at club level. It's just impossible to mark him. At county level, I think when he starts after, you know, running himself into the ground and the work rate that you have to do, it's very hard to get that burst of pace up that he has. Yes, in the first period of time he can do it, but as the game goes on, he goes sort of out of the game maybe a wee bit. But when he comes on as a sub, all players have tired legs, and he just glides past them. And when he gets that burst of pace coming from around the middle of the field, you know, he's unstoppable.
Yeah. James, just clap, round of applause. Thank you, John. Maybe get you a start on Saturday, John Albanwell. Pity you weren't about. James, how do you see things 50-50?
From what I've seen, I favour.
Without putting words in your mouth.
No, I favour Armagh, to be honest, in what I've seen this year so far. But we'll have to remember, Jim McGuinness disappeared for 6 to 8 weeks last year and came back with a game plan against Derry and wiped Derry completely out of it when Derry were all Ireland favourites, and he completely wiped them out with a surprise game plan that nobody had seen. So we'd have to be wary of that. But on the evidence so far of the 2 semi-finals and the 2 quarter-finals, I think it's Armagh's. I think Donegal's defence looks very loose. They look to be giving away a lot of space inside the 40. And I think Armagh's defence looks so physically strong on their counter-attack and their turnovers. When Armagh, Ross McQuillan especially, when Paddy Burns, when they turn over the ball, we're up the field and move the ball over the bar in 30 seconds, or sorry, about 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah, of course.
And the other thing about Armagh is they have the double game plan here. They're able to counter-attack from those turnovers, but also if they go up and the turnover doesn't work, they're able to keep the ball. The way Armagh kept that ball in the last 3 minutes of the game and scored 3 points, it was unreal. It was brilliant. It was fantastic football to watch. And people are thinking of this now because they see the stopwatch and the hooter, but this has always been a tactic in Gaelic football. You go back 30 years ago to Cross McGlenn winning All Irelands. It was no coincidence in the last minute, the last kick of the game, that Oisin McConville was kicking that ball over the bar. Yeah. You know, they left the best shooter. Staffan was there. Armagh worked it to Staffan, got the ball. Staffan put it over. It was no coincidence. I know he didn't score, but when they went for the winner, it was no coincidence that the ball was worked to Turbot. Turbot was fouled, but the idea was Turbot was there to take the score. Even more so, at the weekend, you saw Mayo didn't do that. Mayo passed it around, and then the first person that got a shot, chance of a 2-pointer, he hit it and he sliced it away. It was nowhere near it. The ball was out of play. So to me, tactically, I think Armagh are flying, and I think Armagh really want this. I think Armagh really want an Ulster. They've lost the last 2 on penalties. Could have won both of them, should have won both of them. And I think Armagh really want this, and I expect them to win. The other thing, just Gary mentioned the group of death as well, I suppose people aren't thinking about, or the group of death isn't a bad thing. Even if Armagh go out and they play well and they lose, see the advantage in the other group. You don't have to play Galway and Dublin to the final. That's them. You can't play them again. You can't be drawn against the teams in your group. And the other thing, and I think this final should have been in Croke Park. I think the 2 teams would have liked this in Croke Park. With these new rules, Croke Park's that big. You could be caught out in Croke Park. If you're in the group of death and you get a game against Dublin and Croke Park and you get caught out there, that's not a bad thing. But if you get caught out in the quarter final, that's your season over. So That's a few things.
Good
And one
point.
final thing, and Tommy said earlier, sorry, just to keep the whole cog in the mic.
No, go
the
ahead.
mic. Tommy said about the girls' team, Clonairon and 2 or 3 coming through. What McGeeney's done this year, we've played without 8 to 9 players from the All-Ireland winning team. And O'Neill's come into the middle of the field, Thomas McCormick's come into the defence, and 3 or 4 others. Armagh have created, they've brought in hungry teams, and All-Ireland winning teams in the past would be guilty of sticking to the same players and putting the same 15 out again. McGeeney's completely transferred. In Clonairon, we can't understand why TK's not playing, but it's because all these boys are coming in and they're playing so well.
But you can't drop Ross McQuillan.
You can't drop Ross McCullen at the minute, but if you look at that Armagh team, there's only 4 or 5 players that are certain. That team was picked on Thursday night, Rory Grugan, Ethan Rafferty, maybe Ben Creaney in the middle of the field. After that, you could pick another 12 players without...
Excellent. Very well put, James. Very well put. Tommy, you were sort of saying at the very start you want to give the new rules a chance. You want to look at them and see how they worked out. There was an incident in Mayo and Galway where the keeper tipped the ball over the bar last week. Are you still for the rules? Do you like some of them? What's your opinion on them?
I love the new rules. I love them. I think it's been a breath of fresh air.
There's an applaud for you, Tommy.
Well, look at the games that we've witnessed so far. You take Cork and Kerry last week. You take Galway and Mayo yesterday. It was an absolute treat to watch. So it was an absolute treat to watch. It's fast. It's effective. It's given the advantage to the better players. Now, what I would say, I think there has to be a case where O'Donoghue hit that ball yesterday. It was 55 metres out. The goalkeeper taps it when it's behind the net even. I think even if the goalkeeper taps it, it goes over the bar. If you're shooting from outside the arc,
Let it be 2.
it's 2 points.
Yeah.
I think that there, I think Mayo can feel very hard done by that. And there's all wee bits and pieces where we can pick that. I think referees are trying to get used to it. I think the tap and go is absolutely brilliant, but referees at the same time, some of them are allowing infringements and not punishing the team for it. I think that infringement is there, and especially you can see it creeping in a lot with club level, where they're standing in front, they're not giving the ball back, and the referee's not moving it up. I think referees need to be more stern with that.
Yeah.
Move the ball up, and you only have to do that once or twice, and it's cut out. When you look at the last week again, Tyrone, when Kieran kicked the flag,
Yes.
it was brought to the referee's attention. It's moved up. It's inside the arc, brought back. It's 2 points. Tyrone scored another 2 points. We're 6 or 7 in front, and the next thing
in front.
it's back in the melting pot again. And it's, to back up what James and all is saying, I think that these new rules, that your bench is the most important thing that you have. And I think a lot of the managers now and the current managers have caught on to what Jim Galvin done with the Great Dublin team, because after he really got that first All-Ireland, the best players were coming on, the match winners were coming on with 20 minutes to go, 25 minutes to go, 15. That's when he was emptying the bench. That's when Dublin won their matches. And when you're in the cut and the thrust, especially the championship and the heat of the championship, when it's so intense and everybody's so fit now, it's hard to find that space. Granted, now these news have given it a wee bit more, but these lads come into their own. And overall for me, I'm overjoyed. But all I think it's been excellent. It's been great.
What about the clubs, Tommy? How's it going? Have you seen many club games? What's it like?
But the clubs, as I said, it's been a wee bit of inconsistency with the referees, but we'll have to give the referees time to get adjusted to it too, because we're only getting adjusted to it as well. And as I said, one of the ones for me, it's a solo and go. I think it's a great advantage for the player that's being fouled and for the team going forward. But I've been at matches where teams have deliberately blocked the player and they haven't been punished for it. Move it up to 50 metres, and we'll keep moving up to 50 metres until they stop doing it. Because what we want to do, we want to be going on a Sunday or Friday night or wherever we're going to go to watch these matches. We want to be watching football, playing at fast pace and good football, and less of this gamesmanship. Again, a discipline as well. I've seen inconsistency on lines, even where I've been involved with myself. Not mention any names or anything like that, where we're keeping our mouth shut on the line, and the other ones are calling the referee all sorts from the line, and it's going away without being punished. And I think that's there's somewhere along the line they will be punished for that, because some referees going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why we've tried to keep our discipline within it. But it shows you in the heat of the championship and the battle of it, it can happen with the best. It happened with the best last week with Kieran. that infringement where he kicked it. Tyrone get a 2-pointer and they're back in the game. But Tyrone's bench was very good last week too, and I will say this here, Tyrone's not out of this here series by a long, long chalk.
Didn't want to hear you saying that, by the way.
But I'm going to. They're still in it, and and I've seen one of the best prospects that I've ever seen in Gaelic football last week when he came on. Is young McElhone from Tyrone, and he's
glad he didn't start.
He's probably the reason why he's not starting is because he's still under 20, and he's using O'Rourke's now is letting him play his under 20 stuff and only using him sparingly. But this lad's going to be something else. If we keep him here, it'd be a great exploit for Gaelic games. I know Aussie rules are after him again this year, but why he goes there or not, again, I don't know. I think he had a big burn on Tyrone coming back into the game last week when he was brought into the fray.
Just before we move on, I want to ask Mark, did he ever kick a flag at any stage in his career? They've so many kids going to the games. You're a coach for Clonard and you're looking at a lot of kids down there as well. So do you love these things, the kids coming on the end of the matches? So many youngsters going these days. It's good to see it.
It's great to see, especially in the ladies' game too. Like definitely in the last maybe 2-3 years, there's been a real change in support and stuff as well. But at the end of the day, you just have to support your own. That's where it has to come from. But seeing the young ones coming on, like even when I was younger playing football, that like very rarely really happened, and like it's a bit of a shock to a lot of the girls. But now, especially with the county, it's great to see the young girls, like especially around like your town. Like all the girls walking about in their Armagh tops and their Clonard gear and all that. There, it's great to see. It's also great whenever the girls, they come over and they're telling you they want to be like you, or they're trying to model their game and asking you questions about what you do. Like it's class to see. Like, and a lot of the girls, especially the ones with the county, and then obviously Tommy knows rightly with Neve and Dervla. I mean, there's a lot of young girls around here, especially in the schools. When you go around coaching, that they just absolutely are in awe of girls, and it's amazing to see because we're all like a lot of those girls are local, and what a better way to look up to local girls,
Are you going back to the county anytime soon then?
I don't think so. It's such a commitment. Like for the boys and the girls, it's such a commitment. Like you really have to be 100% or just not be in at all. And just sadly with my work or things that I do, I can't. But I would absolutely love to say to get like that I could give it a proper go. But at the moment, it's just not feasible for me. But I enjoy watching the girls anyways, and it's great. Yeah, and it's great to see that there's so many Clonard girls, on that starting 15, and even some sitting on the bench, going out there week after week, putting in the work and showing up for the club. It's great to see.
I'm going to get myself into trouble and say Laura Brown was the best.
Oh. Well, I don't think you'll get yourself into trouble. I think Laura Brown would say she's the best. No, Laura is. Like I bet you Laura could still kick a ball over the bar, no bother.
What a full back.
She was unbelievable.
Unreal.
In her day. Like,
see, I'm throwing you out there. You see.
No, she's unbelievable. Like. No, Laura's one of them. That's what I'm saying. Like, so great to have them girls even on our team at the moment. They're in helping with the coaching and stuff. So is Megs. Like, it's unbelievable that those girls are still about, and they're to give you a hand whenever you need, and a wee bit of a kick up the arse if you needed to.
Exactly. No, she's still there with them. Just going to ask Mark. Mark, I don't think you ever kicked a flag when you're playing, so you mightn't do one now. So
no, definitely not. I only kicked the ball, and I mean, kicking the flag. Maybe kick people, but I didn't.
So you made a very valid point last week. You're talking to me about the Clonard boys playing around the middle of the field. You said this is a new scenario around the middle. Your boys were saying to you, look, what's going on? We had to defend this year and to compete for the middle ball. That's what happened when you were playing. Do you like that?
I love it.
Chaos?
Absolutely love it. And, boys are saying about different parts of the rules, and, people don't like some things. So people like, tap and go. I love the fact that now the keepers are kicking the ball long. You have 6 or 7 boys going, and great. You're seeing some brilliant high fielding. You're seeing great, battles in round there for breaking ball. When you look back in 05, 06, you've seen the likes of the Brian Doohers, and then before that the Greg Braineys and all. And there are people that you talk about how they won breaking ball and set things up. Them players are now being created again. While for years there, to me, players were getting it a lot easy. Picking up the wee simple ball off the goalkeeper, being able to work the ball up the field, and it took away a lot of physicality, I think. Now when that ball it's put out there, it's sort of, I know it's taken away a bit of a skill from the keeper. Sometimes they're trying to place balls and all the rest, but a lot of the time it's just hoofed into the middle and boys have to go and fight for it. And personally, I love it. But I love all the new rules. And you're saying about the club games. Any club game I've been at this year has been brilliant. They've all been brilliant. Yes, referees are making a few mistakes, players are making a few mistakes. Not everybody knows all the rules yet, but the bottom line is the game's exciting, and that's what we have to. That's as a spectator, that's what you want. As coaches and players, they're in the bubble. They're in the bubble, and whenever a manager tells you to do something, you'll do whatever he says. That means 15 men behind the ball, or short kickouts, all that sort of thing. That's what you'll do when you're in that bubble. But it's everybody else who goes and watches the games I was at last year. I could look around the grounds and people were just sitting on their phones. They're sleeping.
I know.
Now it's just full of excitement, great scores, the 2-pointers, physical encounters, man-on-man battles. Personally, I think it's just brilliant. I'm really enjoying the whole
I
season.
argued with Gary for 6 months about the rules. I was very traditional. I didn't want them changed that much. But anything's better than what we've seen last year, so you have to welcome them, Mark. Are they going to keep them?
I think they will, yeah. I think there's some of them there, the hamping the ball back. They're a wee bit difficult. I really would have struggled with that one myself, but there's just a few wee. There's a few wee rules there that possibly could go. Yes, the managers on the sideline and stuff like that. I don't think that really should dictate a game, because what happened was when McGuinney, it automatically brought Tyrone back in the game. Really, he could have lost. As the throw man, tax me, says, wouldn't it have been great for Kieran McGuinney to lose Armagh and Ulster Championship, and he's not even on the field. But I just think that's wrong. I just think that, yes, put him to the stand, do whatever it is, give him a one-match ban from the sideline, but not actually lose a game and give away a 2-pointer.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I want to talk to James and Gary both in a wee second. Just go to James first there, Gary. $50 million question. Do you let Michael Murphy do what he wants, or get somebody to pick him up? Whatever about Cambridge?
Somebody will have to pick him up again. Armagh dot every A and cross every T. Everybody will have a man to mark and a job to do, and they might be double marked. There's been different scenarios marked. The likes of Patton's kick over the top, that'll be sorted out as well. So somebody will be on Michael Murphy, but I don't believe Murphy's the threat. That it's more a story. I remember back in the early 2000s, Jamer Marsden in his prime, he retired at the top and he went away for 2 years. When he came back, everybody was delighted Jamer came back, but Jamer, he still was brilliant, but he wasn't the player that he was. And
difficult to do, James.
I think against Down last week, Murphy was getting very angry, and he was like me when I retired, or when you played here last year. Anybody knows he was going around thumping boys because boys were getting the ball off him that shouldn't have been.
Lost a wee yard of pace.
Yeah, and they ended up having to take him off. And don't get me wrong, he'll probably score a couple of good points. He'll score a couple of points from 40, 50 yards, but he won't be I don't think it's as a big a plus as maybe a plus in the dressing room, having his personality in there, but on the pitch, I don't think he's Armagh's biggest worry. Washington Gallon, McBurdy will get more scores there, maybe more to worry about, but everybody will be picked up. Somebody will mark him, that's a given, but who it is, I don't know at this stage.
Just ask Gary. Gary, just want to say to you, I think the best player pound for pound anywhere in the country is Martin McHugh. You know what I mean, Mark? Would you agree with that? How influential could he be maybe this weekend in the final?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ran McHugh's fantastic footballer, like very very slight in stature, not a big man by any means, but the heart of a lion, football intelligence. These new rules seem to suit him down to the ground. The way Jim McGuinness operates suits him down to the ground as well. McGuinness very clever manager, tactician. McHugh knows exactly how to just fit in to that system. Whatever he's asked to do, he'll do it. But also he's got creative side to him. Ball carrier, good counter attack, and just a very, very clever footballer. I can see why you're such a fan of him.
Good stuff. Anybody else threatening? There's so many good subs there as well.
Darrell Boyle's very threatening. 2-point specialist. He is really, really good at those in every match he's playing. Right back to the Railway Cup, he was kicking them there. He's been kicking them in every game since. He was kicking the Ulster final last year. Obviously, there were no 2 points at that time, but there's a few kicks he kicked that day. It would have been 2-pointers as well, so he's one to look out for. Very good coming off sort of that right pocket, and you sort of blast them over. James mentioned Oisin Gallen, very very tricky, bit of a wizard on the ball, left foot, right foot, kicking from anywhere. And there's a Conor O'Donnell, very good player. I've spotted him in Ballybofey earlier in the year when Armagh played Donegal. Donegal were going very, very well. At that time, they'd beaten Kerry, they'd beaten Dublin, and then they welcomed Armagh to town and they won that game in impressive fashion. Now they sort of laid off a wee bit since then and made sure they didn't top the league or get the league final, regardless of what McGuinness might say.
Did what they
But
had to do.
Conor O'Donnell that day was very impressive too. He was cutting through the middle, picked off a few scores, and but yeah, McBrady too. Armagh, like McBrady's always done very well against Armagh anytime he's played. And in recent times, Donegal have had the edge in Armagh, whether that's penalties or
Hopefully not.
whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Armagh have a big one against them in 2022 now in the back door in Clonus. But other than that, it's been Donegal's they've edged out a few times, unfortunately.
Interesting. Tom, I just want to talk to you about quite a few players. I want to talk to you about Eugene Creaney last year. 3 points in All Ireland final. McGeady made a point. He says he took it to the Galway in an All Ireland final, and he scored 4 points again Tyrone all from play. So he seemed to have cooled down a wee bit. McGeady maybe held him back. Now he's flat out again. So what a player, young Creaney.
Class. So we picked him out, I think I picked him out 18 months ago about the potential that this lad had. His speed is phenomenal. He gets on that ball, he's away, and maybe you could say his form dipped or whatever it was, but you're playing in conditions during a league where your body's you're putting through the mill, getting ready for a championship for a start. So you're not at peak condition, you're nowhere near it. You're coming off a heavy week's training, going into a league game. So all them conditions don't suit him. Now, with the top of the ground, getting good, and, everything suits him. Good weather, speed of the ball, speed of the game. Oshie's one of the top players in Ireland at the moment. Yeah. He would get his place in any team in Ireland. I could say that without any question of a doubt.
And there was a question asked by James earlier. TK is not starting. Would you like to see him starting?
Love to see him starting. Personally, I think he should be starting, but we'll all have our picks of these Armagh teams, but the bottom line is these lads are all trained away. Kieran is obviously picking them on what they're doing in training and how well they're performed in training, and when they've got themselves into the side, if they're playing well enough, he's keeping them in. So, we're not privy to all that. We can see what's happening. We all we make an argument for TK. Soupy's another one. I personally think Soupy, I would have had him on a lot earlier. I'm not saying I agree with you. I think he's better coming into the fray. But I think unless he may have been carrying a wee bit of a knock, maybe it was a bit of a worry about him or something, and he had to bring him in to get over the line. Yeah. Another man there that I couldn't believe that didn't get brought in the other day was Niall Grimley. Yeah. In the 26th. At a feeling Ben Creeley would start, and I thought I didn't think he'd get the 70, with his first game back, but I thought the obvious choice was Niall to come in. He didn't do it. He brought in Jamar Hall. So what he's doing is working, and it's keeping everything fresh, and we're only looking on the outside on performances, what's happening on the day, and what we know of players in the past. Yeah. Kieran and the management team are working on what they are in training, and how well boys are performing in training, and how well boys are buying into the system, and excellent. That's where it is. Conor Turbott's another one. I would have Turbo starting too, but
1 second, Mark. Just anybody in the audience here, just lads, 1 second. Wee bit of hush, please. Excuse me, folks at the back. Martin Henderson. If anybody wants to ask a question, please come up to the stage here and you can talk to the panel and we'll have a wee chat. Anybody's ready for it. But Mark, you're going to get in there with a comment. Here's the Tyrone man, is it?
I'm a Port Ardman, Tommy, is that right? Yeah. Tommy, before the night's over, you give us an old tune, sir.
Oh, well.
Because you're no better, man.
Thanks very much. Mark, you were going to come in.
Said, sir.
You were going to come in there, Mark, just not.
Yeah, no.
Oh, hey, Markham.
I just think that, just on Tommy's saying there, we all want TK at the start, especially Clan Armagh, Lurgan, North Armagh. But I think what McGeaney's done, he's created such a squad. He's stuck loyal to the guys that have played well so far this year. You look at McCormick, McMullen, these guys, they've all started. Last year, once we got to an Ulster final, TK hadn't started that stage. Now Grimley, McElroy, Barry McCambridge. You're looking at 5 or 6 players that hadn't started by the Ulster final. That was then turned round, and then by then took us and won the All Ireland. It could be very similar this year again. 3 or 4 of them players being held back. one or two of them might start come the weekend. But you look at O'Neill, the game he had the last day. Ocean O'Neill's getting in there and starting, and it's creating a great environment probably around the squad. Like Turbot only coming on, wondering am I going to get a chance to get started? And that to me is what's created this Armagh team. And it was something that we had all criticised McGeaney over the years. Why has he got so many players in the panel? Why is this one not playing? Why is he? But he's created now, and I would have been one of the ones that critical of us. But now I can see what's happened, and it's all working out. You know, he's now 27, 28, maybe 30 players, and number 30 in the Armagh squad could start at the weekend, and none of us would bat an eyelid, be all happy enough. You know, and it's hands off for McGeaney what he's created.
Plus
here.
the fact, Mark, I think it was 40 travelled to Kildare last week. That it's filmed again in Kildare last week. So
yeah,
like a boys like Old McConnell, like your boys from Clonerne.
Yeah, you've Sean
like
McCarthy, Daniel McGee, these guys.
there.
They're starting to believe now that in a year down the line, this could be me. I could be the man doing that, and the people looking over their shoulders thinking he could take my place. So that's it's created a great spirit. You know, competition for places, and disappointing TK not starting, but. Listen, on down the line, maybe come an All-Ireland semi-final, he could be the main man again.
Gary, I want to ask you about one player in particular who's caught my eye. We both looked at him. I thought he came out of the blue, but he obviously didn't. Because same what Marcus said, he's obviously brought in his last 2 years. Midfielder Callum O'Neill. What a find! Maybe he's not a find. Maybe he's been there for 3. I don't know.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone, and he told me about him before he really came onto the scene. And then I saw him in a couple of McKenna Cup matches. It was maybe the start of last year. Now he still looked maybe a wee bit off the pace at that time, but you could really see a footballer in him, you know. And then obviously brother Ryan, he's been sort of waxing lyrical about him over this last few weeks about how impressed he's been with him. But look, he came in he played against Antrim. We weren't really sure if was that the test for him. He scored a goal and a point, or he scored maybe more than that. But he got a good few scores that day, done very well. We weren't sure if that was the sort of big test that he needed. But then he played against Tyrone, as we all know, and had a stormer of a match in midfield. Like Ethan Rafferty with all those 23 out of 24 kickouts that he hit, you know, to Armagh players. Callum O'Neill must have caught about 7 or 8 of those. You know, he really, and he was catching them on, sort of catching them, and he was catching them on his chest. You know, they were all pinked out to him. It was clearly worked on, you know, and O'Neill's very clever. He seemed to be very clever as to how to pick that up. He hit maybe three points or something that day as well, all from play. He was through on a goal, could have scored a goal. You know, the fella Dabney has a lot of talent, and he's come in there. And you know, if Niall Grimley now was going to come back this weekend, would you automatically want to throw him in ahead of Callum O'Neill? I'm not so sure. I would maybe want him in with Callum O'Neill and with Creeley. You know, I was saying no. I don't really feel you could drop Callum now.
Justifies his place.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
James, I want to talk to you about the goalkeepers. I don't know why you're a fan of Blaine or Tiernan or Ethan Rafferty, but Rafferty's kickouts were sublime against Tyrone. I think he hit 94% out of 100 or something.
Yeah,
you have confidence in him, obviously.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm a fan of both keepers. You know, Blaine, All Ireland winning goalkeeper, and my view should have got an All-Star last year, but the way the rules have changed, I think you can see that Ethan's kick, you know, even his kick out is 15 metres, 20 metres longer, and the fact that he gives you a score from play, Blaine doesn't do that at this minute, and you can see from the Antrim game that McGeaney does think Ethan's his number one goalkeeper, because Blaine come on again, brilliant as Blaine always is, he came on and he saved the penalty, and he was still taken off at half time to put Ethan back in. You know, he's maybe looking at that long kick again, so to me, Ethan is our number one, and the performance he put in against Tyrone was sublime. It was unbelievable. Some of the kicks were amazing. And again, when we talked earlier about, you know, if Armagh need a 2-pointer in the last couple of minutes to win the game or get to a draw, don't be surprised if that ball lands in Ethan's hands and Ethan's the one kicking it over, because that'll be something that Armagh will have worked on. As far as when you're talking about two goalkeepers going to the goalkeeper on the Donegal team, Patton, these are probably the two best goalkeepers in the game at the minute, you know, along with Niall Morgan, but Patton's kick out over the top is something that Armagh are going to have to, and I'm sure Armagh have done something the last couple of weeks to cover that. You know, even if that's Ethan standing in front of the 3 defenders or the defenders, the 3 full backs marking. But that goal they scored against Down, it was kicked into the far 45, and the next minute it was 4 against 3, and it was in the back of the net. So that's something Armagh are going to be really careful about. But no, Ethan Rafferty and Patton are two of the best keepers about at the minute, and looking forward to see they'll both have an instrumental part in the game to play. So.
Excellent. Can I go to Tommy just for a second? And then we're getting in the last 10 minutes, folks. Get a wee prediction from you. Any questions, Martin Henderson? I think they're all
let
down
him
there.
go.
Let him go there. Tommy, a wee quick one for you. I want to just take you sideways a wee minute. How refreshing is it to see Louth and Meath in the Leinster final and Dublin out? And they got them out of Croke Park and they were beat. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. For the two counties, Louth, in fairness, have been on the rise over the last 4 or 5 years. With winning under 20s and then coming up through the leagues under Mickey Hart. I'm very surprised that Mickey actually left him that time to go to Derry. I think he's seen a bigger prize, and it was a wrong choice for him at that time. I think if he'd have stayed with Louth, they maybe got there sooner. But the whole freshness at Louth, the great setup down there in Darva. We've down there a few times, me and Jimmy there, and the facilities are second to none. There was an awful lot of work going on in that our county to get that back. Meath, to me, has been a bit of a surprise packet because, a week before the championship starts, they have two of their management team walk away, Finney Corey and Joe McMacken. They leave it there. But Brennan seems to have turned around and been happy enough with it, and he's done a brilliant job. Again, Meath is a type of team where the new rules do suit them. They have some prolific scores and very good at getting the 2-pointers as well, which proved to be what got them over the line against Dublin. But it's awakened the whole of the Leinster Championship now. You have a Leinster Championship there now. You can say, well, there is teams here pushing Dublin. Dublin have fell back a bit. There's no question or doubt on that there. They have come back, I think, more than and the boys have progressed. You have a Connacht, which is on fire, really. We can't, every year between Mayo and Galway, it's hard to predict. Ulster's a minefield. Yep. And it's the only one, really, is Munster. And Munster, we watched that yesterday and the game was over after 5 minutes again. Absolutely. And this, there was talk there. I know some of the talks we've done before, the boys were against the provincial championships. But I never was. Yeah, I think well, he can, but I think it's superb. And you know what, Mark? There were 32,000 people at St. Tienan's Park on Elba Kieran on Saturday. Who wins the Ulster title? And for me, the Ulster title stays. And when we're on it, Jimmy, and just when we're on it too, what I do disagree with as well, Ulster finals are played in Ulster, not in Croke Park. Them teams will be going out on Saturday to a packed stadium, and there may be a couple of people who not get tickets, but I think I don't worry about that. I'm seeing you're staffing for one, but anyway, they'll be coming out into a tremendous atmosphere. Whereas it was played in Croke Park, you'd be looking at it. You might have got maybe 5,000 or 6,000 extra in it. But there've been nobody on the hill, and there've been probably just the volunteers of Croke Park would have been there, and that's it. But you've been going into the cauldron of Clonus on Ulster final day to a packed crowd. Where else do you want to be?
Tommy, you should have been an MP. Tommy Coleman for Tommy Coleman for Lord Mayor, please.
Where I'll disagree with Tommy.
We put order for the last 10 minutes, folks.
Where I'll disagree with him is that, the Ulster Championship, yes, he's saying that it's a minefield. It's not really, personally, because there's about 4 teams that can win the Ulster Championship. You're looking at Tyrone.
Here, Antrim gives us a quick push.
These teams, the Antrims, Monaghan, I think they're slipping away now. So they are. Kevin's not going to win an Ulster Championship. Antrim's not going to win an Ulster Championship. Derry's not going to win one. And again, you have 2 teams in Connacht, and you've maybe 2 teams in Leinster. So the provincial championships, to me, there's a lot of teams at the start of the year ain't going to win a provincial.
You want to open the whole thing up?
But what I will agree with is come Saturday night when Armagh play at Donegal and there's 33,000 there, absolutely brilliant, and it'll be brilliant for the GAA. It's brilliant for Ulster. It's all that. But outside of that, the Armagh Antrim game, really, is that what people want to see? Them teams playing each other?
I know what you mean.
So, well,
Just to finish off
To
that,
get a rise started here.
Kevin won it in 21,
Need to
and
get back in the
Di beat us in 23 on penalty kicks in the Ulster Championship. So you just wrote off two teams there, Mark, that have won it within the last 5 years.
Exactly.
Well, they're not with the right this year, and they're going to certainly they're not.
Right, folks, we're going to go to the predictions. Start with Gabrielle. Gabrielle, Armagh or Donegal, who's going to win?
Warm all the way.
100%.
Yeah.
By how much? Couple of points?
Oh, the whole shebang. Like,
Whole shebang,
probably
10.
10 points. Probably. Yeah.
At least you're honest.
Oh,
Neve, how do you see it going? You,
Oh,
you can talk about the ladies as well if you
Well,
want.
for the ladies, I'd like to think the girls definitely go out there and put on a show. I think the way they've been playing all year is just phenomenal. They seem to have a real click from Anna in keeper and then right through up to front. It's good to see the likes of Neve Reel getting a good run this year too. Just a pure shooter through and through. As well as, you know, I mean, see, even when you look at the ladies team throughout, it's just so strong and so talented the whole way through. So I'd like to think that Armagh ladies will be. I would like to think they get maybe 4 or 5 points here.
Would you call on the
against
crowd?
Donegal? I'd like to think for the ladies, like for the
Excellent.
men, I would like to think the men to me seem to have it. I'm gonna go for 2 points. Think they'll win by 2 points.
So basically what you're saying is for all the men that sit in the pubs, go and support the ladies.
Well, I'm
And
just
get out-
saying,
get out of the
like, I mean,
hotel,
they're all
get
at the
a-
same time. You know what I mean? You have to support the girls and
Get them
support
out
the boys.
first.
But
Go early.
like that's the ladies' game will be just as exciting in its own way. And the girls, like, I mean, they're the top of the top in their area, and so is the men. So you're getting top football regardless. So watch both.
So if they win, you can be ready for the semi-final in the
Oh,
All-Ireland.
I'll get kitted out and all that.
Ready to go. Tommy, how do you see it?
The ladies' games will be a very, very tight affair. James Daly will set Donegal up so defensively because we don't have the change of the rules. I do think that the ladies will just prevail, but it'll only be a point or two in it. The men's game will be, it'll go to the wire. I would not surprise me if it went to penalty kicks again. Honestly, it's that. Maybe none of us do. Maybe none of us do. But there's a great chance that'll happen again. But I do. My gut feeling is that Armagh will prevail this time. I think it's third time lucky. I think it's Armagh's this time. And when it goes to penalty kicks and that, there definitely won't be a whole lot in this game. You know.
Just a wee bit of an announcement. Just a wee bit of an announcement to make. If you all be quiet for 1 second. If anybody in South Armagh thinks that people in Lurgan are nuts, they're absolutely right. Mark, put your money where your mouth is.
Well, I don't know enough about the ladies with Donegal and stuff like that there. I just listen to the Clonard contingent, and I know the work that they put in, and you know, you'd be expecting that where they're at and where they've been over the last number of years, they'll be expecting to win on Sunday, and let's hope to do, as Neve says, maybe 4 or 5 point win. The men, I personally believe Armagh are definitely going to win this game on Saturday night because Donegal have their eyes on the bigger prize. McGuinness is there to win on All Ireland. Don't get me wrong, they're there to win on Saturday night, but there could be one eye on the All Ireland. While Armagh haven't got over the line in the Ulster Championship, I think there's going to be a greater hunger for them. I think there's also going to be a greater hunger regarding beating Donegal because Donegal, as Gary says, have had the edge in Armagh over the last number of years. And McGuinness seems to have that edge on McGeaney for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of luck. It's been penalty kicks. It's been 1 point wins. And, you know, there's a bit of luck in that there. McGuinness has had the luck with him. I think that luck is going to turn Armagh's way on Saturday night. And I feel just where they're at and the way they're playing, and it was a real humdinger of a game against Tyrone. They're coming in here ready for this and they really want to win this Ulster Championship. I think McGeaney really wants to win it. The players really want to win it. And I think that's the reason it's going to get them over the line by 1 or 2 points.
Good man, Mark. Oh, Mark, you're playing. Right, Gary, what do you think?
Penalty kicks.
Oh, no. They're barred.
We'll win 5-4 on penalties. There's the stats. Look, there's a lot of talk about the amount of players that played in the All Ireland final, started and played in the All Ireland final last year, and weren't playing against Tyrone, for example. There's only 6 playing against Tyrone, but that honestly has no concern for me whatsoever. James and Mark, they've already talked about the depth of the squad, what McGeeney's brought through. I have no concerns whatsoever about the players that are playing. I mean, take for example the half-back line in the All-Ireland final of Conor Mackin, TK, Aidan Falker. The half-back line against Tyrone was McQuillan, McCabe and Jordy Oak. Could you pick, somebody said pick one of those half-back lines as your preference?
Leg for leg.
You couldn't, they're brilliant. Now maybe the answer is somewhere in between, and Tiernan Kelly would get into that half-back line over somebody, but I have absolutely no concerns whatsoever about the squad, the players that are playing, none at all. So on that basis, I think it'll be tight. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it goes to extra time of penalties, not even slightly. If it's going to be edged by somebody, I feel that Armagh's going to do it. I listened to a podcast during the week and someone on it said, it wasn't an Armagh man, he just said Armagh's starting to look like they're a clutch team now. They use that term in American sports a lot, clutch. Teams that produce the goods in the last few minutes when the game's really on the line. And they came up saying of a good team, they came up clutch. They really came up clutch against Tyrone. And I've just a feeling that they'll do the same here against Donegal on Saturday. And Armagh for the Anglo Celt and Armagh for Sam. What about that?
As far as the ladies' game, I'm delighted that the Ulster Council have had the foresight to put this game on before the final. Armagh had an attempt to do this earlier in the year, and they missed it when Armagh had a double header with Mayo, and they put the ladies' game on after. All the Armagh fans, I know the people in the pubs, the teenagers and the older ones, but the families, Armagh supporters, they fill the grounds about 2 hours before the game. So these girls will be playing in front of a crowd like they've never played before.
Brilliant.
And I think, I don't know much about the two teams. I don't know much about Donegal. What Tommy said about James Daly and knowing the Clan that could be an advantage to Donegal. But I'll go with Armagh and the supporters, bringing Armagh over the line, because with that many Armagh supporters in the ground early. As far as the match has gone, I've said already, the senior match, unless Jim McGuinness has something that's going to catch us all by surprise, I think Armagh have the hunger. I've said before, McGeeney came in to win the Ulster. He won the All-Ireland. I think he's going to do it the wrong way around. I think we'll win the Ulster. And I think the game's going to be topsy-turvy. I think there'll be a whole lot of purple patches for both teams. I think somebody will go 5 up, then it'll be level. Another team will go 5 up, and there'll be 5 to 10 points. It'll be a real topsy-turvy game the whole way. But when it comes down the line, I think we'll have enough to get over it by 1.
Good man, James. Give it the guy there. Well, I can't sit in the fence any longer. I've been saying Armagh from the start of the year, and I'm not going to change my mind now. So that's what I say. Good luck to the girls, number 1. Girls, thank you so much for tonight. But listen, I'm saying Armagh ladies and Armagh men for the double, hopefully. I think the odds are pretty tight in the bookies, Tommy. Like evens, Armagh, even something the same. But I just want to say before we go about the integrity of Ciarán McGeeney last year, when I was getting messages that you couldn't print on the page, and some of the things were said about the man was unbelievable. I know it's affecting his family, but he's come through there with flying colours, and he's proved everybody wrong, and an absolute gentleman in every sense of the word, and his family as well, and he's brought that team from Division 3 a few years back to now. So round of applause for Ciarán McGeeney first of all. Don't be starting Tommy Coleman second. We'll have Neve first and then Tommy second, don't worry. But listen, good luck to everybody. And do you know what I'm delighted about more than anything else is the amount of kids that go to the games. Boys and girls from 4, 5, 6 year old. You're Adam and Grace will be exactly the same. And they're queuing up a half an hour before the match on the rail and trying to get into the pitch. Years ago, I was looked at and I have to say, look, we don't do that anymore, and that doesn't look right. But now the authorities have said, let the kids on, let them enjoy the thing. It sells a few jerseys, by the way, as well, But listen, good luck to everybody. Thanks, Gabrielle. Thanks, Neve. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, the retired Mark Beatty. At last. Thank you, Gary, and James Byrne as usual. And up the toffees for this season, by the way. But listen, thanks, Eamon Quinn behind the camera, and James French on the staff at JP's at the Railway. James, glad to see the place open again. Absolutely brilliant. And thanks, everybody in the Railway Bar, and good luck on Saturday. Up Armagh!